So I am here with my friend Ercole, Hercules, Iraklis, whatever you want to call him.
Well, on the internet, I'm Hercole, like Oracle, but with the E. Yeah, it's kind of a strange name.
So Ercole. So we've been friends now for around 2 months. So what happened? How did we meet? I think it was through my blog or something.
Well, it's strange. It's strange because we met on Twitter.
Yeah.
Well, okay. The recommender system of Twitter suggested me a picture that you posted on where were you in Sicily? Yeah, you were in Sicily, and since I'm from Sicily and now I live in Spain in Las Palmas de Gran Canaria, well, the recommendation system basically suggested me your picture, and then I sent you a message and I say, hey man, you in Sicily? Look, there is Las Palmas de Gran Canaria, which is better, well, especially for the nomading scene, etc., the digital nomad ecosystem, etc. And then you replied me, well, I already booked a flight to Las Palmas. I will be there in 1 month. I said, well, cool, let's meet. And then we met, yeah.
Actually, it wasn't like that. I said that I'm coming to Las Palmas, and you said, then you went to Sicily when I came here. We changed places again.
Okay.
And then I arrived, and you were here again. But anyway, yeah, that was super cool. And why don't you just introduce yourself a little bit, right? So you've been building products for some time now. You're freelancing, right? And you've been nomading for many years.
Yeah, long story. I work remotely since 6 years now. And I was before a digital nomad. Then after 6 years of nomading, then you realize, man, you have to slow down, settle down a bit, having static friendship. Well, sorry, I shouldn't say static, but at least more concrete relationships. And you kind of cannot do it if you travel so much. And that's the point. And then I decided basically to settle down. I went to Sicily. I tried because I'm from Sicily, even though I studied and lived for 10 years in Tuscany. So I cannot feel myself 100% Sicilian. And then I went to Sicily 4 years or 5 years ago. I went back home. I had some family stuff to fix. I fixed it. Then COVID and the pandemic, came. And after that, the first opportunity, I took my flight. I went here, and I realized, okay, this is the place there is no best place in absolute. It's the best place for you at the your objectives basically are the one in lead on the place you choose to live. And for instance, people went to reduce their living costs, and so they go to Southeast Asia, for instance. Instead, what I wanted to do, it's strange because I wanted to do, apart from doing many products and being inspired by an ecosystem environment, people like you. That's why I contacted you, because people like us, when we get each other, we can get together, we inspired. We're doing a podcast right now, which was my second objective of my years, apart from doing products and experimenting, also like doing podcasts, because we lived in the lockdown, in the period of lockdown, we lived this moment. For instance, I lived alone because I had a place to stay during those lockdowns in Italy were, quite strong. And at the end of the day, by being alone, you become being friend of the people you see in YouTube, because I know how it looks like working remotely. I knew how sometimes can be, I wouldn't say depressive, but it's not so happy to work home. And so when we had the lockdown, I decided to, I'm gonna take a sabbatical, in the sense that I was studying at university again, because I already have a bachelor degree and a master's degree. But then I would, after some years of remote working experience, I decided to get back to university and study statistics, which is amazing. But the point is that I basically stopped working that year. I said, okay, let's lower down my stress levels. Everything that can stress me, fuck off. I will wait that this thing is gonna finish, it's gonna end, and then I will start it again. And so what happened was that I was living YouTube. So that's how I improved my English. I'm Italian, I know Spanish, and I mean, I'm also Sicilian, so I kind of I can understand Sicilian dialect, but that's not the point. The point is that I improved my English because of that, and that was one of the objectives of living in the YouTube, which this thing that I just said opens us to a lot of interesting ideas like metaverse, but those are kind of other subjects. So yeah.
One thing I should say is that, dude, you're not the stereotypical Sicilian. Because I lived in Sicily for 1 year, and man, no one speaks English. Everyone is super loud. Well, they have what they call like a Sicilian attitude or like a Mediterranean temperament, which is basically a polite way of saying they're assholes.
Well, not all of them.
Yeah,
some
they
of them
can
are
be.
educated, of
The
course.
same with Greece and Greek people, you know, they're lovely, but they can be also like very loud and very tiring at some points.
Educated and well-mannered. There are both. Well-mannered people there are also, you know. But yeah, I wouldn't say a majority, but a lot of people are loud. Yeah.
Yes, and of course I'm joking about the asshole thing, but it's funny how they frame it. But what was the biggest thing that you eliminated and it took a lot of stress out of your life?
Oh, okay. I mean, it took a lot of stress to eliminating it, or did it?
No, you said that your goal was whatever stresses me, fuck it, out of my life.
Yeah, I mean, because I knew what meant to be confined at home and being in lockdown, and that's a good question. I don't know how to answer.
You don't work a lot, right? So many people.
No, I work
Dude,
a lot. But
yes, we talked about that last night at dinner, right? You say, yeah, I don't work at all because you don't feel like you're working.
It was a joke. We went out. Yeah.
You basically bill a client for 2 hours per day, right? Something like that. So you work for 2 hours, but of course after that you're building your own things. You're thinking about new ideas. You're iterating on other products you have already. So you are busy all day, right?
Yeah, I'm a kind of obsessed person. That's the problem. That's why it was a joke, of course, by saying that I don't work at all, because instead I work always because I'm kind of obsessed with the thing that I do. But yeah, my setup basically is kind of strange to explain, because I used to work last month for a couple of hours per day for a client that I just got, and then I suddenly realized, well, I don't really need to work those 2 hours, and I can focus 100% on my projects. And I'm still learning. I've a couple of products, I have a couple of websites, but maybe I'm gonna go for a third one. Who knows? And the point that I'm still learning, it's not easy. It's not easy. And you were a bit of mentor on that, of course.
Dude, it's not easy. I got this message the other day, a DM. So this person, I tweeted the big milestone tweets because they do really well on Twitter. Everyone is interested in how much money you're making, and it provides a lot of inspiration for some people, and they do well. So this one person, he DMs me and he says, man, I really appreciate you sharing the journey and everything. Please let me be your assistant. I will do whatever you want. Be my mentor, something like that. Because you are exactly where I want to be in 6 months. And he hadn't even started.
Maybe 6 years.
Yes. So I replied to him, this shit is hard, you know. I replied to him, you know, probably I'm really flattered, and thank you so much for reaching out, because I try to answer to every single DM that is not automated. And I say, but I'm not the person you're looking for, because for me it took me 5 years. And not 5 years of on and off and part-time. 5 years of, it's the only thing I'm thinking about. Even when I'm taking a shower, on a walk, going for a run, on an airplane, on a train, sleeping, is the only thing I'm thinking about. It takes a lot. It's not easy. If it was easy, everyone would do it, I think, because it has some let's say benefits that no one can argue against, you know, like you have freedom of time, freedom of movement, like you're location independent, financial independent, you make a lot of money, you're doing what you want to do with who you want to do. Everyone wants that. But do you want it enough? Like, are you willing to sacrifice 5 years?
or
to do
more,
that. Or
of
more,
course.
right? Because so I feel very lucky. Even though it took me 5 years, I feel extremely lucky. I think luck is a huge part of it.
You know, I reframe it. I reframed it by saying that instead, what drove us to take this decision, because it's an obsession. I'm working so hard and so much. It's an obsession. At the end of the day, you have a possibility that you become rich, but how many odds, how are big the odds against you? But the point, I reframed it in the following way. We did what we did because we have a weakness, basically. My weakness, or at least I don't know specifically your, but my weakness was always I cannot tolerate someone telling me not to do something.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Not to do or even to do something.
More because I'm a person with a lot of initiative, a lot of ideas, maybe too much, which is cool for some point of views, but I always not tolerated that somebody told me, no, you shouldn't do this. And I mean, I want to fail. I want to learn. I want to be the one saying, yeah, it was right. I suppose this is kind of a weakness from one point of view, because you are not, I mean, let me rephrase it. You are not able, you have a skill less. And this skill that you are missing is that in this situation you could say, yes, I agree, and nothing bad happens. And says that, I mean, it sounds like a meanness, but but yeah. So it's a weakness.
It can be weakness.
It's a weakness.
And that is only one aspect of it, right? Like many people, maybe even including myself, it's insecurity, ego. You know, you want to prove that you can do it. You don't want to work for someone else. Many different things.
Well, if we did it, it's because we could have done it. But I would, because you also the other day mentioned this thing of insecurity, because I mean, everybody is kind of affected by, I mean, we don't learn at school what is insecurity is. So I searched on Google, or at least I tried to do a search some time ago, like research. And I discovered that the word insecurity means that you basically don't know what's the future, or at least you look like somebody who doesn't know what to expect from the future. And so you cannot take a decision. You cannot make any decision because you are insecure. But I don't think you're insecure, man. Probably we had the wrong definition of insecurity. And also because if you don't know what to expect from the future, how could you be an entrepreneur? You would be scared, you know? So insecure people, they don't even go outside, like, go outside of their homes. And so maybe security, I'm not sure.
Maybe it's not the right word.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with vocabulary. I think our vocabulary is very limited. Like stress is another word, for example. Like, what is stress? Like, I can name you 5 different types of stress right now, just off the top of my head. Creative stress, existential, like angst. It can be like destructive stress, excitement about the future. All these are different expressions of the same psychosomatic state. We have one word for them, right? And that was the big thing that many times people ask me, like, working for yourself, like, are you very nervous and anxious and stressed? And my reply is always that it's not like as if the stress went up or down. It's a different type of stress, but we just have one word for it. So the stress when I was working for someone else was like constant and did not fluctuate at all. It was always the same stress every day. Meeting at 12, one-on-one on Friday, performance review every 2 weeks, task that has to be done by Friday, move it to the done section. Otherwise you have to tell in front of everyone that you didn't do it and why. Daily stand-ups, all those little things that they add up over time, and after a while you're stressed for no reason, right? Because from a realistic standpoint, there is no reason for you to be stressed. You're not in danger. You might get fired, you'll get another job. There's no real reason to get stressed. In an average life, just crazy stuff happens. But when working for myself, it wasn't that my stress went up or down. If anything, I was wearing a Fitbit and my heart rate went down 10 beats per minute after I quit my job.
Okay. Oh yeah, man. I experienced the same.
So I was calmer.
Yeah.
Even though I was, at this point, I was eating what I hunt and hunting what I eat. So I would have been a lot more stressed.
Instead, no.
No. It was just different stress. There are weeks where I don't really work, and there are other weeks where like I am in the zone and I'm not even exiting the house. I'm working all day and all night because I'm building a new feature, or a new competitor's come up and is copying me and is coming after me, or fill in the blank. So what you said about insecurity, I think is very accurate. That maybe it's not the right word. I don't feel insecure if the definition is like that. I would say that it's ego then. Maybe that is the correct thing. We want to build something. We want to create something big. Or just something, create something. Why do we have that? Why do you think you have the need to build things?
Have you ever heard about the young archetypes?
Yes, but what are they exactly?
Let me introduce that. Basically, are those things, Jung studied. Okay, maybe I mean, by searching on Google, it would be easier for the listeners. But the point is that we have natively some types of stereotypes, or no, I wouldn't say stereotypes, like types of things that we can recognize, roles in society. And so basically the explanation would be evolutionary. So we evolved, and not only as human beings, because as human beings we were, before we were something else, something before monkeys, And so we...
Wait, I thought God created us, no?
Pardon?
God created us, no?
Crazy?
God created us.
I'm not Christian. I'm a scientist.
That
doesn't.
I'm joking.
It's not related. Sorry.
Monkeys. Yes.
Anyway, the point is that we natively have those some stereotypes that we recognize, and maybe that we have one of building our house. We have natively like, oh, this is my place. I'm gonna improve it. I'm gonna take a piece, a piece of stone and put it, and then build every day. And nowadays, the virtual world is our house. It's the place where we stock our stones. Yes. And I tweet, we tweet about technical stuff. And for instance, my pinned tweet right now is everybody should own a data pipeline, because I think that the future is, or the value of the next economy will be on data. Well, we already know that, but the ability to take data, public data, store them, apply machine learning on top of them, and then sell it or giving them for free as a service, like a website, is kind of an amazing thing to own. Is kind of an amazing thing that creates value. And the point is that my two servers, because at the moment I only have two servers, but maybe they will grow up in number in the future. But I feel them like my home. I'm building every product on the same infrastructure. Maybe one day we'll put Kubernetes, which is a technology that is too far away from the topic of this podcast. But the point is piling up stuff. And so, probably we have that in natively, like young archetypes or something that drive us. But I have a question for you. Yeah. What motivates you on starting a podcast?
What motivates me is that there have been so many times where we're out for dinner or out for a drink, and we have these super cool conversations that I'm sure there are, even if there are 2 or 3 people out there, but I think there are a lot more. Because in our it might be like a little bubble where we're living in, like this little indie maker. It is little.
Las Palmas is a little bubble. We live in our world, so everyone should come. Like every indie maker should come to Las Palmas, and then we will.
Maybe not even Las Palmas. Like I mean, like in the cloud, right? Our little bubble in the cloud, which is tech Twitter, indie tech scene. Name it whatever way you want to name it. But even though it's a small bubble relative to other industries, there's still thousands of people. And I am certain that these conversations we have, other people might be interested to listen to. But even if they're not, that's the beautiful thing of of my approach, in my opinion, that I have completely separated my passions from my revenue generating activities. Even though I love running my business, I'm never gonna try to make this my passion. I don't care if 0 people listen to it. Maybe my ego gets affected, but I don't think so. Like, as of now, I'm telling you, I don't care if anyone listens. So to answer your question, the reason why I'm recording these things is because there have been many times where I'm outside, we're talking, and this has happened with you as well, and I'm saying to myself, fuck man, this would be so cool if we had this, because this is so interesting. I'm certain that other people would be interested to talk about the same thing or listen to it. Plus also that the years go by, and the older we get, the faster the years seem to move forward. And for example, if my father had recorded a few podcasts when he was in his 20s or 30s, and he's talking about life, sex, monogamy, having kids, would I sit down to listen to him? And I think I would. So I think it's a very nice thing to do. Or even look back on yourself, like in 10 years' time. See how much you've changed. See how much of a baby face you had. So all those reasons.
But, let me rephrase it. We are developers because you also studied development. Mm-hmm. And so nowadays being a developer, coding is like a very cool thing. Everybody wants to be a developer. It's not true, but of course everybody wants to have a job, and we are automating basically all the jobs, or not all, but probably in the future we will. And as far as I could understand, being a developer or having the mastery of taking those tools in order to create products or to create value or to solve your own problems and create value for yourself, that's a key point. So I would I wouldn't call somebody who has those skills like a developer, even though the developers are at the moment, and also the people that use no code tools, of course. But the point is basically, so those developers, well, we are developers, and there are many people who want to be like us because we have many years of experience as developers and also building products. And so now I'm kind of drawing a circle of all developers, and then there is the rest of the world, which is not only in our small bubble where we live. The rest of the world would be interested to understand how that works, how this world works. So, and this is kind of, I'm only drawing a line on the dimension of age. So I'm talking about the people of our same age. What about the new people, the younger people? The younger people, they want to learn. They want to learn how to become this 35 years old, very cool, who lives in Las Palmas, or who lives as a digital nomad, who doesn't work so hard because he had the skills. And so from an educational point of view, that's why maybe our conversation is so interesting, because we have the luck to be in the right place in the right moment to do the right things. And but I have another question, like the continuation question for the previous one, that was what drives you. But what do you think? What like the future is going to be? I mean, the economy is going to move. It's going to move as a content creator economy. That's kind of a question that probably I already asked you. It's going to move as a content creator economy where everybody, in order to market what do they sell, even a small business, a restaurant, a person who does this thing with his hands and want to sell on internet, they want to market it. And there are ways to market, like really Instagram Reels or TikTok stories or tweeting. It depends if your audience is interested to this thing that you do by hand anyway. And so what are we going to what should we expect from the future in terms of economy? I mean, we're going to move to a different type of economy. We should prepare for that.
Yeah. First of all, human beings have a terrible track record of predicting the future, for the simple reason, so simple, with a finite data set of past events, how can you predict a future that has unlimited possibilities?
Yeah.
You're not able to predict. And historically, we have been really bad. However, what I see, and I see many people that I respect and are a lot smarter than me say, and I'll be quoting heavily Naval, for example, as one of them, is that
Very smart guy.
yes, he is super smart. That the optimal size of the firm is shrinking all the time. What took 20 people, I swear to God, if you see how much automation I've built into Cyberleads, I want you to tell me truthfully, if I had zero code, how many people it would take to run this business. I think it would take 20 people. And I am solo with one assistant because I'm automating. So everything is shrinking all the time. At the same time, and this is not Naval, just to stop the quoting, I don't want to put words in his mouth. What I am noticing is that everything is being commoditized. In the past, commoditized as in it's nothing. It used to be super difficult to get, now it's easy. Example, it used to be very difficult to build a startup. 10 years ago, it was a lot more difficult than today. You didn't have Heroku, you didn't have, maybe you did 10 years ago, but let's say 20 years ago. 20 years ago, you needed capital to start any software business, or you needed servers locally. There wasn't the cloud yet, as it is today, where you rent a server in San Francisco that's running on the 5th floor on the 3rd shelf in the Amazon AWS servers.
Yeah, my servers are in London, by the way.
What?
My servers are in London.
Okay. Yes.
Sorry for interrupting.
Regardless. It wasn't like that. Now you pay $5 per month. So everything is becoming commoditized. You can build a full-blown Airbnb clone with no code in a weekend. Think about that. You can build Airbnb clone with no code in a weekend. You can. So tech has been commoditized. What I think is gonna accelerate is barriers to entry are gonna drop from everywhere, and the only thing that cannot be commoditized is trust and attention. You can pay for ads, but it's a race. Prices are going to go up as more people join. So I think that the game we're going to be playing is, well, they've coined it already, the attention economy.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's gonna take crazy, like, businesses in the future are gonna be like influencers, faces of company, like Joe Rogan's, or like you're influencer and you run a B2B company. I think it's gonna be like that. It's gonna be full of social media influencers with companies on the back end, making millions, and maybe they have 5 contractors.
Okay, but then we are talking about the big actors. What about the small?
They are small, they're by themselves, solo.
Yeah, I mean, they are small in terms of number of employees, but not in terms of revenue. I mean...
What do you mean? How small do you mean?
Like a restaurant.
Oh, I'm so biased towards tech that I don't even think about, in general, the economy. Is that what you mean?
Imagine that one day, or probably in the next 10 years, they're gonna be selling those robots that they basically cook, like in industries, but we will drop down the price of those robots, and then every restaurant or every person will be able to buy that, download a bunch of open source models for cooking.
I understand exactly what you mean.
Okay, so the automation, that part.
Yes.
But then, I mean, are we all going to be able to own the robots?
I was going to say exactly that. I think we talked about this once randomly, and you said something that was really spot on. We were talking, and I said the future of work is not working, and we laugh, and you turn around, we're in the car, and you say, no, the future of work is
ownership. Yeah.
And I say, man, that's fucking right. Like you build an automated system with robots, and you just let it run. How different is that, though, to a business that runs by itself and you have employees running it?
I mean, but the problem, sorry if I'm not replying your question, but if then everybody is going to be able to own the robot, there will not be any entry barriers. So what makes then companies differentiate each other? Why should I prefer a pizzeria versus another pizzeria if they are they run basically the same algorithm, the same open source model, or this. Well, the open source model actually is kind of a model like the dishes, like the recipe. And you maybe imagine one day you have a repository of those models, and each model is kind of a process, like, I don't know, like a Petronet or something like that, that basically explain step by step what to do to the robot, and is machine readable, of course. And then everybody will be able to do the same pizza, like the same. But maybe the thing that kind of differentiate them is going to be the ingredients. So maybe this pizzeria has a specific farmer, and in this place the wheat is better, or the
exactly.
So
even if it's exactly the same product, you can position it in a different way that it feels completely different. An example of this would be, let's say that we, by accident, we hack into Red Bull servers and we find the recipe, okay? Exactly the recipe of Red Bull. And we create an identical Red Bull drink. Go sell it. You cannot compete with them, right? Because for many different reasons, but let's just say that, you cannot go head to head with them. But you could very well, with exactly the same product, position it in a different way, and you will get different customers, and they will prefer you. So we, instead of Red Bull, we could have it called like Beast Mode energy drink. And this energy drink is so you can go to the gym and hit a PR, hit like a personal best lift. It's the same shit like Red Bull, but it's just positioned and framed differently. So I think it goes back to what we were saying before, that trust is going to be more and more and more important as everything becomes commoditized, and barriers to entry will continue to be dropping everywhere. The only thing that will matter is like trust and attention.
So the logos, the brands.
Yeah, like the Nike tick, that costs billions. It's the tick.
Okay. Well, okay.
That's what I feel, but of course I don't know. I haven't thought this through, just thinking out loud.
But, do you expect also at the moment, we invested in those big companies like Amazon, Google, but what are we going to expect from the economy? In the sense that are like all the solo entrepreneurs in one way kind of outnumber in terms of those big corporations, or those corporations are going to continue buying our small companies, and we will do exit, and then we will, with those money taken from the exits, we buy them their shares, and then like this is the model, like the model of those big corporations, and then we small inventors or we create the startups, we sell them, we do the exit, and then we buy again our buyer. And then, are there any alternatives for that? Maybe the blockchain.
You know what it reminds me of? Like, have you seen when big sharks are swimming, and they're like the little fish that are eating the leftovers from the teeth of the shark? That's us and big corporations, right?
Wow.
So, like, I am competing, you can say, with ZoomInfo, which is a public $1 billion company. They don't give a fuck about me. Like, I am just eating the scraps from their teeth, So I think it's very almost, we are like an ecosystem where we are taking the little scraps that are left by the companies, the big corporations. But because we're by ourselves, it's enough for us, Like maybe you eat a little bit from their teeth, but it's enough for you. You can make a few million per year, which is nothing for them. So I think it's pretty natural, and it will continue to happen. If anything, I think that the middle class will disappear when it comes to businesses. It will be either huge corporations, and then it will be those individual brands with the companies behind them.
But how many years that we have those technology advances, in the sense that, why are we so productive nowadays? We are so productive because of open source, because of the internet, and thanks to the internet, basically we can access to those repositories of value, which are those, let's say, open source projects, Wikipedia, and so on and so forth. So we were so much productive only on the last, how many years? Maybe a couple, maybe 3 years. Because I remember when I started being a developer, there wasn't any Stack Overflow there. I mean, you were on your own, and that was very bad and was very bad feeling. But the point is, if we went so fast in the last 2 years, I expect that the next 2 years maybe, or maybe in next year, a huge amount of population and people will start leveraging those tools, those open source tools, to create value, to create products. And then what they only want to do is that moving away from the lower class to the high level. And how are they going to achieve that, or at least trying to achieve that, is by doing an exit, to create a company and then doing an exit and sell it to a big corporation.
Yeah, but then they don't ascend to the higher level. They exit.
Yeah, but they become rich then.
Yeah, but they're still. It depends how you define. So for me, if you're making up to 10 million per year, you're small.
Yeah, but take into account one thing. I suppose, or at least my idea is that technology will allow us to not work at all. Okay, because technology or automation in general will provide us what we need, and we are already starting to see it but not for everybody, or at least not now, but more from, I mean, rich people, they all had the possibility to not work at all. They were living off their money by investing in finance and then getting the earnings, for instance. So I suppose that, like, the goal, the final goal, for instance, Peter Levels has companies. Peter Levels, hello. And Peter Levels has companies and is earning a lot. But what he said is that he's investing all of his money to ETFs, which are stocks. And so at the end of the day, the circle closes, because then if one day he don't want to work anymore, he can live off from the earnings of the stocks. And then means like doing the step to the future is, I'm enough rich to have the possibility to not work at all, because of this circle, because of the big corporations, because of the exit, because of the startup, because of the open source. And so I think that we will move to this new phase of human civilization where we will not work anymore by using open source, and then start, not necessarily you have to do an exit, but at least what's your end goal? My end goal is to be creative. As you mentioned, Naval, he said in the future everybody will be an artist. Not necessarily is going to create value, because we will have automation that creates value for us. And then the artistic part, which is nice. I mean, is that like the same goal for you? Do you have the same goal, like creative?
Yeah, like my two goals is living. One goal financially is living as if money doesn't exist. So when I'm at the supermarket, I don't look at the prices. When I want to buy something, I never think, oh, how much does it cost? Is it expensive? Like I'll see the price and I'll buy it, unless it's like completely unproportional. That's my goal when it comes financially. And for my day-to-day, my goal used to be like have something fully automated, but I think that is so overrated. That my new goal now is to work until lunch break, like work for 4 hours per day. Because I have realized, and this is interesting as well, there have been so many articles from 100 years ago in newspapers where they're talking about automation, and they're saying that by the year 2000, so many things will be automated that humans will not be working. Fast forward to today, we have more automation than ever before, and we are working more than ever before. I think it goes back to that archetype of Carl Jung that you were talking about, that we have this inherent need to do stuff. I have I find a stick, I want to collect that stick, it might be useful in the future. These rocks, let me put them there. Let me build a shelter. Let me improve this. Let me improve that. Let me build a fishing rod. Now let me build a net. Now let me build 2 nets. Now let me build a little system. How can I get more fish? I think that is very human. Almost like ant-like ants. So I think that there will never be a time where we don't work. If anything, I think we will be like you are now. So I think that you are a little bit ahead of your zeitgeist, of your era, in that I believe in the future.
Thank you.
Work, which is something that you don't want to do, but you do it regardless, will come down a lot. And the rest of the time, you will be doing stuff, but it won't be things you don't enjoy doing. So, and that is also my goal. Like, okay, work until lunch break, but also in that period, do things you enjoy. You know, that's my goal. The rest, delegate or eliminate or automate.
Well, today I contributed to an open source project, like for fun. Well, because I need, or at least I would like to experiment. Yeah, I have kind of this experiment thing. It's all fault of my grandmother, because she always told me, you will become a scientist.
Yeah.
What your grandmother were telling you, like to feed your goals.
My grandmother,
or at least anybody else, like.
my grandmother and my father were both architects in Greece. So I would have been the third generation architect. So for me, they were very proud that I actually enjoyed architecture and I wanted to study architecture.
To build.
To build things, you know. I think everything comes down to our fear of death, not to get super philosophical, but I think if you want to build a bridge, for example, you know, like that. I remember being 17, you know, I was even underage, and I was saying that, you know how cool it would be to be an architect and build things that will be there standing after you're dead. I think it all comes down to that. Everything we do and build or record to keep in time is from our fear that someday we will not be here, and we're trying so hard to be remembered. I think it comes down to that. So my grandmother wanted me to become an architect, but I didn't. I wasn't able. My grades were not good enough. So I joined computer science,
Which
I hated in the beginning.
Oh.
Calling my father, crying, please, I hate this. I didn't like computers. I didn't like anything, until I realized one day that computer science has to do with computers as much as, let's say, astronomy has to do with a telescope. The computer is just the telescope. It's the machine, and computer science is the stars. You can build anything you want. Once I realized that, I fell in love completely, and I started building things.
Wow. Okay.
So tell us about now. What is your goal for the future? Like, is your goal not to work at all?
No, I'm overworking at the moment. I'm obsessed. The point is, okay. Let's basically before the lockdown, I took a sabbatical year studying statistics, and after that, then COVID came, and I stopped studying statistics because it was a bachelor, only 1 year that I had. I already have, as I said, a bachelor in computer science, a master's degree in business intelligence, which is economics. And so after that, I kind of started to being inspired or interested to finance, especially like the statistical model, the probabilistic model behind finance and financial forecasting, and especially machine learning applied to that. And I have a friend who did a PhD in that. He is a physicist, and basically he helped me in the sense that I was using Python. I was doing financial forecasting for ETFs, and he gave me the right suggestions to what to use in terms of models and like state-of-the-art models. And basically then I made an algorithm that creates a portfolio of ETFs. And then I had some money, I had some savings, and I invested in that, like long-term investment, not high-frequency trading. I don't like that thing because apart from the fact that you need to be a big corporation and you need to have access to infrastructure, very costly infrastructure for doing high frequency. And so instead I said, okay, let's use machine learning and let's analyze all the ETFs that has a very good history, and then using an algorithm to forecasting the future. And it's what I did. So then I invested my money, and I kind of live off that earnings, which is paired with the fact that I don't waste so much money in general. I'm single. I'm vegan. It's not related, but I try to be as scrappy as possible. That's why I don't go outside so often, only when you invite, of course. And the point is that I'm learning now another step of my life, another phase of my life. I'm learning doing bootstrapping businesses. So it's like the startup thing, but low cost. I'm reading this book, The Minimalist Entrepreneur, from the founder of Gumroad, which is very interesting. And so my objective is to explore, to learn, and to, of course, to test and understand what it works. For instance, the financial forecasting algorithm. After that, I said, okay, I made this kind of awesome discovery. Do I want to keep it for myself or in my hardware? No. I created let's say I create a website and everybody can leave his own email and email address and then receive today's forecasting, and it's free. But nobody cares, because when something is free, and if something is free, you are not doing marketing at all, so people kind of don't trust. That's the point. But I don't care. It's there. Everybody can use it. But then from there on, I instead create another product, which took me a bit of, I would say. So probably I kind of learned by I wouldn't say failing, because it's still there and it's still open. It's a search engine for food. And what differentiates it from the other competitors like Google Places is that I have the content of the menus, because I get public data, and I also get the content of, the textual content of the menu. So if you search, for instance, for fries, the web search, the platform shows you all the fries and all the prices that are there. And it's interesting. But then we had this interesting conversation, because I'm building a B2C product, and you told me, man, okay, B2B is cool, but you don't make so much money on top of that. It's difficult. And I said, you're right. And then we started analyzing the problem, and I have those 300,000 restaurants, the data of 300,000 restaurants, and I said, okay, who could be interested on those data? And I realized maybe the restaurant suppliers. But then I asked myself, okay, should I market this to all the restaurant suppliers? Do I want to put my face on that? It's long, because you should start a marketing thing, also maybe, going to the social networks, but at least the restaurant world is not my world. I never worked in that world. That's the pain point, that I have to learn everything from that on. And now I'm in the moment on saying, okay, I could do that. But what if maybe I learned something from this experience, Learning, also because, in the meanwhile, I work on infrastructure, because half of my time is marketing, of course, in the sense that I do communication, I tweet on Twitter, and I do this kind of low cost, low budget marketing. But the rest of my time, 25% is new features, and 25% is infrastructure, which is shared with the other financial forecasting algorithm. The point is that I have this infrastructure, as I said before, is data pipeline that I own the data pipeline. And the point is, I can basically take every data in the world, saving, storing, applying machine learning on top of that, and then sell it again. And the point is, understand what to create and who can have the most value from it, or from I could create. And that's the point. So at the moment, I'm kind of in a stop moment, and okay, now I finish it. I ended the MVP, if you want to call it MVP. It's more than MVP. It's a fully functional product. And before pivoting, maybe I should start a new project. I know it looks crazy, but it's also what we follow a lot of people in Twitter. For instance, the Vassallo theorizes that. He is an evangelist of this theory, saying basically that you need many products, because first of all, you need to increase the surface of let's say you have to increase the probability that one of your product can be viral, because market changes so often. And so since it changes so often, Peter Levels is a master on that. He started with this digital nomad thing, and then COVID came, and he basically exploded in the sense that he started really earning a lot of money because of COVID. Okay, Peter Levels tried 100 companies, 100 startups, but the idea is the same. We should. It's like the same in finance. You don't invest everything in one horse. You invest in many. And the point is the same. I mean, I invested in finance because my first project is a finance thing. The second one is restaurants. Maybe the third one would be, I don't know, productivity tools. I don't know. I'm exploring, which is the important part, I suppose, like going the right moment in the...
Yes. Yeah. I think real work begins when the to-do list ends. So now that you're done with the MVP, now it's when the real shit begins. Like, I always used to use this heuristic that consider that you have built your dream product. Now what? And do that first. Do that before building the product. So it's a progression. I remember my first product, it took me 2 years before I showed it to a single person. Perfecting everything, making the border perfect on every single button, playing with a copy. I built a server, built a mobile app, business cards. I did every fucking mistake in the book. Fast forward, now it doesn't feel a lot. Fast forward just 2 years later, I built Cyberleads, which I launched without even building anything, and I reached $100 per month. Fast forward another 2 years later, 2 years into running Cyberleads, I launched this productized service on top. I was making 100,000 per year before I even started building anything. So it's a progression where you go from building first, then marketing, and then earning money, to first market, then earn money, then build it. So it's like going the other way around. Regarding what you said about number of projects, I've always advocated for shotgun approach. Like shoot, throw spaghetti on the wall, one of them sticks, focus on that solely. That's where I don't know because I haven't really read exactly what Daniel says. I think that having many projects is amazing to find one that will have traction, because I think that is, many people, they say it's great to focus on one project, even if it's not working out, because you believe in it and it will take time. It has worked for some people. But I feel that most success stories, they start with a bang. They start with traction. Because when you have traction, then you're willing to pour your soul into it and also focus on that. Where maybe, I'm not sure what Daniel says, is that I think diversifying is great for retaining your wealth, not for making your wealth. So I think when you're up and coming, you should focus on one thing. Try to hit a fucking home run, You've hit the ball, it's up in the air. Start running. Don't think, let me diversify. Like, I've seen a few people that they're making less than 1K per month and they're thinking about diversifying their revenue streams. I don't think that's the way to go. I think once you're rich and wealthy, and maybe you're making $1 million or something and you're afraid of losing that lifestyle. Or actually, let me rephrase. If you are already where you want to be and you just want to secure your lifestyle, start diversifying. But before that, don't. If you want to be a billionaire, don't start diversifying at $1 million per year. On the flip side, if you want to make 50K per year, you can start diversifying once you hit that.
Well, take also into account that we have to be our first customer. And for instance, the search engine for food that I did it because I wanted to know which was the cheapest, vegan burger in the city or pizza in the city, or the best, because I applied sentiment analysis to understand which are the best products in town for each category. And so I was the first customer. The financial thing is the same. I did it for me to automate my life. And now pivoting this second project, I'm not a supplier of restaurants. And so, but by doing so, I'm learning stuff. I'm also, like 1 week ago, I published my first indie hacker blog post. And well, I got kind of 100 visits in my website. I mean, I've very low numbers, by the way, because I started I'm starting right now. But the point is, I'm learning those tricks, and I have the infrastructure. I can really create a product with that uses machine learning, because I have a Jupyter notebook. I mean, the thing that I basically created the infrastructure, but not got too much technical on that. But the point is that now I'm ready to build very fast AI-based
Question.
products. Yeah.
Do you think it's necessary to be your first user?
Well, no, it's not necessary, but it's the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, I think it's one of those myths that really makes people not do something. So some people, they find like a good idea, maybe they want to jump into that market, and they say, well, not me, I don't know about that, you know. And it would have been the same for me when I started Cyberleads. I did not run an agency at the time, even though I sold to agencies. I did not do cold outbound at the time, cold emails. I sold email contacts. And when I started an agency and I was charging people 2K per month, I felt imposter syndrome again. I think the imposter syndrome is a wall you have to fucking bomb and walk through it. You have to get over that. And it's one of those myths that I feel strongly that is not true. You can learn anything. And yeah, you can just learn anything. When I started this service, I had no idea. And I read a few books, tried a few techniques, bought a few courses, experimented, and I've had amazing results. So I think that is not necessarily true, that you should be your first user. You should just find something that you enjoy, you think is a good business, and go deep and learn.
Yeah, you're right. But take into account many startups, they started with an idea and then they changed. I was looking at this video from a growth hacking conference, and this guy basically was listing all those startups that they started with one thing, and then they had a problem to solve internally. And so they created an automated thing, like an automation or software to solve that internal problem. And at the end of the day, that was the product that they started to sell. Mm-hmm. So the point here is, for instance, Peter Levels, I will mention him again today, but he does a lot of automated stuff, and it does marketing a lot, automated marketing. For instance, he does this thing which is called programmatic SEO, which I copied, and also I created a blog post, and which was the subject I shared in the hackers, let's say. And then he also, for instance, has Twitter accounts, and his software tweets automatically, like every day, an image, because he knows that the image goes more viral. And so every day is kind of, this city, I don't know, is important for this reason. And he created an image. So the software created an image. So the point is, now maybe my next product will be a growth hacking tool, and I will use it for both of my products that I have, and then I will also sell it. And that's the point. So you're also automated your past products, and plus you're adding a new one. So, well, let's see what happens. I'm still exploring.
Yeah, actually, just the other day, someone commented on a post of mine. He said, because I was talking about how it would be preferable if you go B2B and you raise your prices in general. This is generic advice, exceptions apply. And someone said, what if I cannot find any B2B ideas? And I said simply, well, start building your B2C ideas. And while you're building them, B2B ideas come organically, because at this point you're sort of like a business, right?
Yeah.
So actually that is the reason why I went towards the lead generation market. I was trying to build this specific software in the cybersecurity market, and I was looking for cybersecurity consultants to have a chat with and get some feedback on my idea before building it, because it was going to be a very heavy tech product. So I was scraping GitHub by hand and reaching out to them, and I got on a call with 10 people and I got some amazing feedback. And that was the first time ever that I said, you know what, if someone provided me with leads every month, specifically what I wanted, I would pay $50 per month. And that's how I went. So you fail forwards. That is the way you progress, I believe. And in my anecdotal experience, that you have to fail many, many times, and your ideas get better and better and better. And then at some point you go from 2 years building a product to making 100K per year without even building anything to who knows in the future where your skill set will take you.
Automation, man, it goes more than exponentially. I mean, goes less than exponentially, but no, well, it grows a lot. Yes. But the point is also, for instance, I was looking at this podcast where you were mentioning it is like the 1 million company. How is it called?
My First Million.
My First Million, and like the yesterday's episode, and the guy basically said, I have a lot of business ideas using new tools that are out there, and those tools are basically, for instance, DALL-E, so image creation using AI, which is amazing, and for marketing and growth marketing, it could be super cool because those things go viral. And for instance, another idea was recreating voices of people like Jordan Peterson, for example. Basically, this guy basically made the listeners listen a fake Jordan Peterson voice. It was basically, and this voice was telling your product, was talking about your product, and those are kind of super cool opportunities nowadays. So that's why we shouldn't. The point of creating many products is not only to how do you call it, like having more product, like diversify. It's not only diversify. It's that technology goes so fast, innovates so fast, that then you will have more added value by creating a new product because of new technology advance. That's the point. And so, well, man, amazing moment to be alive, huh?
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. It's getting crazy. AI, everything. Like in the beginning, like with the printing press and the factories, we automated manual work. Then with software, we automated like work. Not physical labor with factories, with software like intellectual work, and now with AI it seems like we're going to automate creative work, and I don't know what is left afterwards, what cannot be automated, but in any way it's going to be very, very exciting times. Listen, man, thank you so much for coming on here. We could be talking for hours, but I'm trying to keep these short. We're going out for dinner now. We're going to continue talking. Yeah. And actually, one of my biggest fears is that, you know, like maybe the real conversation will be at dinner.
Yeah.
But I think we did a good representation of what we generally talk about when we're out having fun.
Yeah, that's why I suggest everybody to come and join us in Las Palmas, because a great place is the first city in the nomadlist.com, well, which is the Peters levels. Again, an advertisement. I shouldn't mention so often those people. But anyway, yeah, it's kind of the most vibrant place in terms of digital nomads and well, remote workers, because I'm not digital nomad anymore. I live in a very cool place.
So come join us. Thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks to you.
Yes.